What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Miguel. You're watching Miguel EDC, the channel where we talk everything EDC gear here. Today we're taking a look at this knife right here. This is the CMB design. This is their Zetsu, Z-E-T-S-U. I believe that is how it's pronounced. This one is a Tiwas design, and as you know already by some of the other knives we've seen here in the channel, Tiwas is a very unique knife designer. You'll see that this knife looks very different, very unique to his own design language, if you will. He's a very tactical guy into designing tactical knives and such. He's a Japanese designer, and he has done collaborations with many different manufacturers, CMB being one of them. And so today we're checking out this premium EDC knife here, the Zetsu. This one comes to me via the Lefty EDC knife pass around. So shout out to Kevin. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Super stoked for it. I've gotten a chance to carry this knife for about the last week or so, and I'm just getting ready to ship it to the next YouTuber that I'll be reviewing it here as part of the pass around. But man, oh man, has this one made an impact. This one has certainly been a great experience. We'll talk all about that during this video, the good, the bad, the ugly. This knife will be linked, as well as any other knife that you see in this video. They will all be linked down below in the description. Those affiliate links do help out the channel if you end up getting a knife through them, but that is entirely up to you, and obviously it doesn't cost you anything. So that is a great way to support the channel, and obviously I would really appreciate that. That being said, my goal is to equip you with everything you need to know about this knife. So if you're considering it or considering purchasing it, or perhaps just checking out some gear, or just for fun, right? Checking out different knives, different designs, right? That is what this community is all about. So man, oh man, are you in for a treat with this video? So go ahead and smash that like button as we're getting started if you haven't already. And go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. I make knife content like this on an ongoing basis. Let's go ahead and start things off here with a quick measurement on this bad boy. The overall length is coming in at around 7.8, technically 7.78 inches. The blade is going to be a little bit around 3.6, and the handle is going to be around 4.25 or 4.25 right there on the handle. So those are your measurements so far. Let's do some quick size comparisons to get those out of the way. It is going to be a little bit on the medium size, medium to large. Here's how it compares to the PM2, right? Slightly shorter than the PM2. Here is the Para 3, so definitely a little bit longer than the Para 3. You guys be the judge right there. Here's the Demko AD 20.5 on the diamond scales here, 20 CV steel. Just picked this one up. Been one of the grails of mine here for a long time. Super excited. Been having a blast with this thing. Check out the unboxing on this knife if you haven't already. But yeah, it's actually a little bit shorter than that Zetsu. And here is the Shark Cub, which is a little bit smaller than the AD 20.5. And here's how they rank. Of course, the Zetsu being a little bit bigger than both of them. Here's that Rat Model 1 right there from Ontario. Here's that Rat Model 2. And the CMB Zetsu is going to be somewhere in the middle, right? Not quite as large as the Rat 1, but definitely longer than the Rat 2. And last but not least, here's the very popular CJRB Pyrite with the Warncliffe blade. And here's the Vosteed Raccoon here with a drop point, crossbar lock. And the Zetsu is definitely a little bit longer than both of these. So what do we have going on as far as materials here? Just get things going here. Materials wise, let's start with the handles. Check out the gorgeous copper carbon fiber going on here. It's nice and chamfered all around. Good contouring, chamfering going all throughout. The bolsters here are titanium, black titanium going on here, which is very nice. I gotta tell you, the insets on this thing feel so good, right? The way they fit with each other. There's nothing out of place or missing, or God forbid any gaps anywhere, right? The quality, the fit, the finish is spot on these things. Not to mention the fact that it looks really good, right? Check out how good that looks right there, right? Super awesome copper looking carbon fiber. Really becoming a huge fan of this carbon fiber as of lately. I think it goes really well with the black aesthetics. We have a titanium mill pocket clip right here, which is not reversible. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And it is not quite 100% deep carry, but it is significantly deep, right? About that much will be showing out of the pocket. Now this guy has one deployment and one deployment option only, right? Very similar to some of the other knives that we have seen here in the channel. Some knives go for the aesthetics of having as many deployment options as possible. Some other knives are very minimal and only offer one. This one is a front flipper here, so it works as your typical front flipper, and it actually works really well. The detent on this thing is tuned to perfection, gives you a good amount of resistance. So once you break it, boom, you can get that blade open, get that blade snapping really well. You could do the index finger kind of, you know, push over like that, and that will work really good. And last but not least, you could do the reach around also. There we go. I know I could get it done. I just don't want to do it incorrectly and send the knife flying, but there it is. You can do the reach around very, very well. As far as the blade, we have a two-tone, right? Check out the two-tone going on here. A little bit of satin, a little bit of black wash. I'm not sure if that's DLC. It definitely has a lot of Bestech aesthetics to it. We just looked at the Chimera, which is OEM by Bestech, and they sort of do something similar there with the satin and black wash. Right, two-tone combination. Now the Chimera, if you saw the review, this one is OEM by Bestech. Now CMB knives, they do make their own knives, so I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure if they do any work with Bestech at all. My understanding is they make their own knives, but we have a clip point, right? Clip point blade here with a flat grind, which interestingly only goes about halfway, right? It is has some decent thickness to the blade. As a matter of fact, let's get the thickness here taken care of. 0.14, so that's a little bit thicker than your typical 0.12 inches that we've been seeing so far. And the handle is about 0.50, and 0.50, half an inch, is about the industry standard for the thickness on handles. So that's not bad there. So the flat grind is good, it's not a full flat grind all the way through, so only about halfway. It does affect the slicing performance, so obviously if it was a full flat grind, it would be even slicier, but it doesn't take away from the fact that this thing cuts, and we'll do a paper cutting test and cardboard cutting test here towards the end a little bit later in the video. What it certainly is, it is a piercer. This thing pierces really, really well. All right, check out that tip there, right? Yeah, that thing pierces really, really good. That is the area of expertise right here for this knife. And again, Tiwa's knife being a self-defense tactical guy, right? It makes sense, his designs are gonna have some of that incorporated pretty well. You do have a little bit of a swedge going on here towards the top, also in black, which looks really good. The Tiwa's logo right there on the blade, it says the model name, Zetsu M390, and then the CMB design or logo on the other side. So a little bit of billboarding going on, depending on your taste. It doesn't really bother me, but you know, if it bothers you, then you know, FYI, but that's kind of what you have going on there. As far as the blade goes, access to, you have a little bit of a plunge grind here, and you have just about a little bit there where my fingernail is, right, for future sharpenings and things like that. You have a little bit of belly to this blade here, this edge, and ooh, that is a nice and crispy edge. Keep in mind, this knife has been passed around from the other channels as part of Lefty EDC's Kevin's knife pass around. So keep in mind, it's not like super sharp out of the box or anything. But with that in mind, let's do a couple of different carry profiles here next to thickness against the Para 3. All right, so it's gonna be pretty comparable, maybe a little bit thicker than the Para 3. What about the Demko AD 20.5, which is pretty thin here, right? It's gonna be a little bit thicker than the Demko. Something like the Rat Model 1. Yeah, the Rat Model 1 is gonna be just a little bit thicker, right? Length and height in the pocket, let's do it this way. Obviously, this thing is gonna be super slim. You do have a portion of the blade that sticks out, but not by much. The handle itself is actually pretty slim as well. So clearly something like a Spyderco is gonna be a lot wider, take out a lot more room in the pocket, okay? Something like a Demko AD 20.5 also has a significant portion of the blade sticking out. So the more fair comparison here would be something like Rat Model 2, right? Rat Model 2 is pretty thin overall geometry, right? Let's see, something like the Raccoon, pretty comparable, right? The CGRB Pyrite might be just a little bit wider there because the blade does stick out a significant amount from the handle. But again, just some quick profile dimensions there to give you an idea. All right, what's been the carry experience like with this guy? Man, I gotta tell you, this thing, for one deployment option and one deployment option, it is really, really fidgety because you can just cycle around the different deployment options or ways that you could use that front flipper. Now, me personally, I would have wanted to have a few more deployment options than just the front flipper. You know, it's more like a personal preference of mine, right? I like knives where you can deploy it with different deployment mechanisms, thumb deploy, reverse flick, things like that. But this one is a little different from that aspect. You do have a good jimping going on here, which is perfect. The front flipper tab there is nice and raised. It gives you plenty of leverage to break that detent. Okay, check out the detent right there. Yeah, that thing snaps into place pretty well. All right, it's nice and snappy too. Okay, so offers you the right amount of resistance. So once you overcome it, boom, that thing snaps right into place, which is really good. So you have a bolster lock, or otherwise a frame lock here. You have minimal access, right? They managed to give you minimal access to the lock bar, but somehow, because they are actually milled from the inside a bit, you are able to simply get push your thumb to the side there and access that lock bar very well. Right, so no issues there, and it's not jimped or anything, but just milling it out a little bit like that does the trick. You have a lock bar insert for steel on steel contact, which is perfect, right, for longevity right there. Again, the lock bar is not the stiffest out there or anything like that. You're able to move it out of the way with ease, which is nice. Check out the alignment on this thing. This thing is right on the money right there. Take a look. And again, this knife has seen some use. Not only myself, but other YouTubers in the past around have checked it out, and it's still nice in the line. You have check out the back spacer here. This thing is, let me see. Now this thing is titanium, a titanium back spacer all the way through with matching black, which looks nice. As I run my finger through here, right, there's no type of unevenness or anything out of place or out of order, gapping, anything like that. I'm telling you, the fit and finish, the quality, the QC for these knives, it is right on the money, right? Spot on. So they do a really good job here. No complaints. The pocket clip is also titanium as expected, which is very nice. And so carbon fiber with titanium, that's a pretty light combination. I want to say this thing is really on the light side. Definitely under 3 ounces will be my guess. Let's take a look and see. Yeah, this thing feels pretty light. And of course, you also have a pretty slim design. We'll talk about that in a second. Take a look at that, 3.3 ounces, 3.3 ounces on the weight right there, right? Something like that. Takcom Chimera was 3.1, right? So pretty similar on the weight department right there. The Kunwu Django is a little bit heavier at 4.7, right? Just a quick reference. By the way, the unboxing on the Django, not the Django, the Django here is in the channel. If you haven't checked it out yet, this will be a great time to do so. And I'll be reviewing this knife next after this one. So chances are, if you're watching this video in the future, you also want to see the review on the Django, right? I'll be putting a card for that video at the end of this one. All right, so the other thing to consider too is ergonomics. So I recently checked out the Kaiser Huntsman, right? And that one obviously goes for a different approach. It has a thicker butt, right? And typically that gives you better grip on your knives. This one goes for a different approach. This one's more on the slim, right? The very narrow type of handle. And you would think that would be a big issue, but honestly, it somehow manages to do really well with the thickness, right? Check it out here. I have medium hands, not the biggest, not the smallest. And it feels good on the hand, no sore spots anywhere. Even the pocket clip, right? I know there's a pocket clip there, but you know, I barely feel it. It's not a sore spot or anything like that. And that pocket clip works very comfortably in the hand, right? It almost disappears when I'm bearing down on it. I did notice there's some jimping back here, which is the one you use to do the flipper tab. But I kind of wish there was more jimping all the way to the front, because when you're naturally, you know, resting your thumb here, adding pressure for slicing cuts and such, right? It's a little bit slippery here, right? They could have just continued the jimping going on all the way to the front, in my opinion. But again, I'm not the designer. I'm just kind of sharing what I would have personally preferred, you know, and things like that. But yeah, aerodynamically speaking, it feels pretty good. You have good access to that lock bar. And this thing is did I mention this thing is a full shot, right? It's a little bit of a shaker, like one or two shakes, but it falls shot really good, which you wouldn't think it would, because the blade gets thinner here towards the front, right? So you would think it's not as balanced, but it drops really well. Even besides that, you know, it actually drops into place, and then that detent just snatches it back in place really well. Honestly, I mean, really good job. This is my first CMB knife that I'm checking out in the channel, not my first T-Woods design. Again, I checked out the T-Woods design ripback from Kavol Knives, and that one was pretty interesting. Very wild, crazy looking design for a Pakal grip. So I'm sure if I were to do this one as a Pakal grip, it would look something like this. And man, oh man, check that out. I got a perfect place here for my thumb to rest right here. All right, that feels nice and comfortable. And I'm gonna go to work, right? All right, and like Lefty would say, if somebody messes with my Slurpee, right, this is your Slurpee defender right there. Friday night, Saturday night, Thursday night, any night of the week, 7-Eleven Slurpee run, you are good to go. I'm kidding, obviously, but yeah, that's what the Pakal grip will look like for self-defense. And again, Tim was being a tactical knife designer. You can see his design language reflected all throughout the design here. Let's do a quick stick of truth in the channel here for checking the lock. I'm going to do this very scientific method here, right? Just 1 or 2 taps. All right, there we go. I'm not going to do more than that because this is not my knife, but yeah, it certainly does very, very well with that lock bar locking mechanism there. So let's of course do a quick paper cutting test. Keep in mind this thing is not fresh out of the box, sharp or anything like that. And also remember that it's pretty thick bladed. The flat grind only starts from about the halfway mark down, right? Which if it was up to me, I would have wanted it to be a full flat grind. I think in this case, because of the intention of it being a tactical knife or such, right? They want a little bit more thicker profile for rigidity, right? But let's check the slicing performance on this guy real quick. See how it does. Yeah, this thing can get some swirls going on right there for sure. Let's get some slices going on here, fellas. Yeah, it will catch from time to time. This is some thick 8.5 by 11 printer paper here. But yes, you can see it is slicing like it's nobody's business. You guys rate it in the comments on a scale from 1 through 10. How sharp is this, guys? So we know it can do paper. What about some cardboard, right? I got some everyday cardboard here. Remember, when cutting cardboard, don't cut perpendicular like this, but rather at an angle. And it will look something like this. Yeah, this thing can do cardboard. There's certainly no doubt about that. And then it's just clean. Let me give it a nice little wipe right here off camera, and boom. That two-tone paint really makes it really pop, and also would hide away scratches and things like that very, very well. Yeah, this thing can cut. You guys let me know in the comments, how sharp is this thing? 1 through 10. Go ahead and rate it. So the price on this thing, this knife comes in, I believe, around $260. I believe it is discounted right now down to $221. It is available on different dealers. But yeah, definitely check this guy out. There will be links down there for any other knife that you also saw in this video. If you want to learn more, if you're considering buying it, right, you use those links. It does help out the channel at no extra cost to you. But let me know your thoughts, right? Definitely good impression with this knife. Highly recommend it. Very premium, great finish. On a sea of knives that all look the same, right? Let me say this. On a sea of knives that all look the same these days, same handle line, same blade shapes, geometries, and all that, you have a knife here that is very unique. That is one thing that Tiwis does. He does a really good job at making some very unique, out-of-the-box blade geometries. Nice, period, right? That look like nothing else in the market. And that's the Zetsu, the Zetsu. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right too. Guys, if I missed anything, let me know in the comments. What do you want to know about this knife that I didn't go over in this video? Let's hang out down there in the comments. Let's have a discussion down there. If you made it to the very end, you guys are the real MVPs. Thank you so much for all your support. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Go ahead and subscribe. I promise you'll be worth coming back for more. I make knife content like this on a daily basis. If you want to support the channel, there's a link for Patreon down below, or you can also support the channel here on YouTube by becoming a channel member. You'll have access to exclusive perks. That being said, guys, the review for the Kunwu Django is also going to be coming up here very soon. If it is available, I'll put a card for that video right here. Thank you guys for all your love and support. I really appreciate each and every single one of you. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace!